Sure, Nicolas Cage is great, but whither Gerard Butler? In this episode, we discuss Playing for Keeps. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
Hey, what's going on, Dan McCoy? I am Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
Oh, no kidding.
Guess what? We're the hosts of the Flophouse.
Flophouse podcast, I hear.
Three amigos.
Yep.
Copyright?
Copyright us right now. No rights reserved. Anyone can use it. It's a wiki.
Yep, Creative Commons license.
Public domain.
So
It just means friends, am I right?
yeah, trace friendos.
Why? I don't understand. Amigos
Yeah,
is already
I don't get that
Spanish.
part.
I don't know why.
So
Trois ami.
the Flophouse is a podcast.
Yep.
You probably know that because you're listening to it on your iPhone or your expired
placement.
Zune or your Droid.
Your computer, anything that streams audio or downloads it.
But we talk about bad movies. And tonight we watched a little film.
Every time we do the Flophouse, you explain what the podcast is, and the more we do it, the less you seem to know ahead of time what the podcast is. The more you talk as if you're making it up as you go along. We've been doing this for like 6 years now,
I just really hate resetting the show. That's the thing. Like,
so do it fast. None
I
of
know
this,
that.
We
It
should
sounds
just
like, wait, it sounds like it's like you have killed someone, and the police are asking you if you did it, and you're like, I was recording a podcast. Well, what's the podcast? It's called the Flophouse, and it's about bad movies. Yeah, bad
enough of this
movies.
shit, punk. Tell us how you did it.
I swear, I was podcasting. You were listening to it on your iPod
or what have you.
or what have you.
Overheard it from some guy on the train.
All right, his alibi makes sense.
Yeah. Story checks out. Let him back. Release him.
Let him back.
Let him back. That's what the police say.
Spent a lot of time in police
That's
departments.
police jargon. Let
Dan,
him back.
Dan does a lot of ride-alongs.
I'm writing a Law and Order SVU spec script.
I don't think
right
that
now.
show's on
Let him
anymore.
back.
Let him
Sure.
Let him back,
Weirdly,
capo.
weirdly
We don't
enough,
have enough evidence. Let him back.
the Pervisoid was the culprit all along. It's SVU, because that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a
That's
perv
how
shit.
it works.
Freeze, you're over arrest. That's what they say, right?
Yep. So this is
The Flophouse.
We've established
We watch
that.
a bad movie, then we talk about it, which you're
But the
listening to
show is
right
just
now.
us talking about it. It's
Yeah.
not us watching it.
It's
that would
not
be
us
crazy.
watching it, no. You don't get to hear the audio from the movie, and you don't get to see the video.
Probably
You don't
the
get any
best.
eye clips. You just have this. What we're
Sounds
saying
horrible.
now.
No
Flip off
sound
a piece of
effects.
somebody's eye.
Yeah.
No, nothing. So, Dan, what movie did we watch
We
this
watched
this
a
time?
film called Playing for Keeps with Flophouse favorite Gerard Butler.
And now I believe
And
that's...
Flophouse favorite Jessica Biel.
Yeah, I believe Playing for Keeps is the sequel to Playing 3 Keeps.
No.
And the
Hilarious.
prequel to Playing 5 Keeps. It's a running Flophouse gag. Anyway, Playing for Keeps stars Gerard Butler, and it was directed by another Flophouse fave, the
Oh, that's
director
right.
of 7 Pounds,
7 pounds.
the movie that promised a Batman villain it didn't provide.
Yeah.
His name, 7 Pounds.
Barely barely delivered on its Will Smith promise either.
Well, no, he's in the movie.
Wait, really? I thought that was a jellyfish.
No, the jellyfish is
Let's
also...
watch 7 Pounds again.
No!
So, Playing for Keeps.
Playing for
Gerard
Keeps.
Butler.
Now, would
you
you-
might remember him from the movie Gamer.
Or the movie Law Abiding Citizen.
Or the movie The Ugly Truth.
Or the Ugly Truth. Yeah. Don't know what that was.
Yeah.
The movie The Ugly Trafe about a Orthodox Jew who decides to go non-kosher for Lent, even though he's Jewish. So why would he celebrate Lent?
An amazing accent he delivers in that movie.
Yeah, he's a Scottish, Yiddish character. So anyway, Playing for Keeps.
Yeah.
Should we go over what this movie's about?
Football.
It's about love. It's about soccer. It's about trust. It's about fast cars, fast women, and fast food.
And how to get your ex-girlfriend, who is your baby's mama,
Ex-wife.
to... Wait, really?
They were married.
Okay.
It's a little film about how to make an American quilt.
Wait, that...
It's a little movie about the knack and how to get it.
It's a little movie about how to stop worrying and learn to love the bomb.
It's a little movie about who is Harry Nilsson.
It's about a movie called Who's Harry Crumb?
It finally answers the question, what about Bob?
The thing about who is Harry Crumb I never understood is the real question is how did he get outside that window?
Yeah.
What's he doing out there? That's
Those
crazy.
giant fly suckers. But no, this is a movie about a down on his luck
Professional
soccer
former
player.
pro soccer star played by Gerard the Butler.
Yeah, using his native Scottish accent for once.
Except he did a thing that I feel like Scottish and Irish and English actors do in American movies, which is that they kind of slow down and it makes their accent sound really fakey. But I think it's just so that it's easier for them to be understood by Americans. Like if you see From Hell, like Robbie Coltrane seems to slow his accent down, and so it sounds like he's doing a bad English accent.
Are you sure that Robbie Coltrane and Gerard Butler aren't both drunk?
That's
Maybe
also
that's what's
popular.
going on.
That's also popular. That's also possible.
It's
and
like how
popular.
it's like how they had to slow down the film in Lethal Weapon 4 whenever Jet Li would do his martial arts stuff because he was too fast.
Exactly. Yeah. Too fast for the film to catch.
Yeah,
Yep.
Too Fast and Too Furious.
Tokyo Drift. Although he's Chinese.
You could go to Tokyo sometime.
Yeah, I guess it's close. It makes more sense than going to
I
America.
would say that I said this
They're
during the
just
movie.
closer.
I did like him better in his native Scots Burr, and I would have maybe liked him if his character.
ATC member Bill Burr?
Yeah, yep. I would have liked him maybe if his character had any characteristics other than being a soccer player.
Well,
He's handsome.
Let's explain. Yeah, he has two character traits. He's a soccer player and great abs. Mm-hmm. Now, he plays.
wavy hair.
His name is like George Dreyer. That's what it is. George Dreyer. He's a former professional soccer player now.
Grandson of Carl Theodor Dreyer.
Really, the Danish director?
Yeah.
Wow. Director of
around.
Vampire, Gertrude, The Passion of Joan of Arc. One of the greats of world cinema. And his
Yeah.
grandson is a Scottish soccer player.
Yep.
That's weird. How did it happen? It's weird the movie didn't touch on that either. You would have thought that he'd walk by like a theater playing Ordette, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, my grandpa made that."
Yep.
Yeah, it's a story about faith.
Never seen it. Looks boring, but
Never seen it. I'm from Scotland. Yeah, this is how we talk over in Scotland. Yeah, see,
come enjoy some more whiskey. See?
Aberdeen. Yeah, have a little Agus in your eye.
Go
Scarecrow.
I don't get what you guys are doing.
Have a little whiskey.
Go up to the
Scarecrow.
lock and see Nessie. Yeah.
Yeah, see.
Yeah,
Go up to
I
the
don't-
north, see? Anyway, so he's a down on his luck soccer player. He's divorced. He has a kid, but he's not good about seeing the kid. He's a bad dad, and we see him. He tries
Original
to
title for the film, right?
should have
Bad
been
Dad?
called Bad Dad. Well, Soccer Dad should. If this was a out and out comedy, the title would have been Soccer Dad. It's a play on soccer mom. You got your comedy title, but this is not a comedy. It just appears to be.
Yeah.
Kind of like Ladybugs.
Yep.
Yeah, the tragedy of Ladybugs. This is one of those movies that's like it's like a mirage in the distance, and it looks like a comedy from far away.
Oh, yeah, it looks
And then
hilarious.
the closer you get, it's just like it's I guess supposed to be like a drama, like a Jerry Maguire or like an James L. Brooks type drama. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like
There's
to
almost
talk
no
about
jokes
this
in it.
maybe a little later once we get into the synopsis.
We'll do it quick. So he's down on his luck. He's ruined his marriage. He has
Marriage to Jessica Biel.
married to Jessica Biel, also a Flophouse favorite. And his son, he's always missing stuff, and so he decides, I guess, out of nowhere to become a better dad. I don't know, like he's just depressed, and he wants
Doesn't
to be
have any money.
He doesn't have any money. He wants to be a sports announcer, and so he
Don't we
tapes
all?
an audition tape of himself, and he promises to take his son to soccer practice, and he's late, but then he finally gets him there. Turns out soccer practice is being taught by a big fat guy who's talking on his phone the whole time. He keeps telling the kids, kick with your toes. You gotta kick it with your toes. And Gerard Butler's horrified. It's like he's more horrified to see soccer taught badly than he would be to see his wife having sex with someone right in front of him. This is his mistress, soccer, and it's being abused by this charlatan, by this,
This
Philistine.
cell phone
By this
user.
American.
This American cell phone user. So he steps in. He becomes the soccer coach.
Big
and
surprise.
he's become super popular, not just with the kids, because he's good at soccer and can teach them to do it, but with the
ladies.
moms. It's Cougar
yeah.
Town. And so very quickly, Judy Greer, Catherine's as a recently divorced woman who bursts into tears all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Catherine Zeta-Jones as a former sportscaster who dangles a professional career in front of Gerard Butler. And Uma Thurman as the wife of Dennis Quaid, who is a slimy businessman.
Yeah.
They all take an interest in Gerard Butler.
The hottest assortment of soccer moms. I think we talked about this before, but the MILF
Yeah.
hunter needs to come in and thin that herd.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking
It's-
about it pretty seriously, about a MILF hunter
It
situation.
seems like the MILF territory is very overpopulated. And the problem is just that
It's for the health of the MILF.
there's not enough feed. There's not enough
there's
grazing for all those MILFs. The MILF hunter, I mean, do I want to see MILFs get taken away? Obviously not. But it's for the better of the group. You need the sicker and the older MILFs to be removed by a MILF hunter or even a MILF.
I mean, the only food for the MILFs is Gerard Butler, obviously, and they have to fight over him.
Just watch it. There's a 3, if you count Jessica Biel, 4 MILFs for every 1 DILF
yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
in the
it's-
community. Although, to be honest, Dennis Quaid is in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's
good-looking guy.
holding together. He could have
got
been
that grin.
the Gerard
He would
Butler
have been
character.
a lot better, frankly, in the lead. But he's a slimy business guy here. He's also the most charismatic and likable character in the whole film. And he's like cheating on his wife.
Throwing his money around.
Throwing his money around. He gives Gerard Butler like literally an envelope thick with hundreds, and later gives him a Ferrari.
But he's like one of those guys who's so slimy that you're like, oh, you gotta love him. He's so slimy.
Now,
He's not hiding who he is.
now Gerard Butler's whole past is he was a womanizer. And that's, I guess, what ruined his life and career. I'm not sure.
he
They
was
don't-
stepping out on Jessica Biel.
but they don't say anything about like drug use or drinking. I don't. It
Sex
seems like
can be a drug, Elliot.
that's true. I think this was
if Dennis Duchovny taught us nothing else.
Yeah.
Dennis
That's that.
Duchovny.
Dennis Duchovny.
Is that David Duchovny's
Yep.
brother?
Dennis Duchovny's brother.
It's his sexual alter
Dennis
ego.
the Menace Duchovny. So you say when he would pick up prostitutes or women, he'd say, "My name's Dennis Duchovny." Really? Because you look like David Duchovny. No. My name's Dennis.
People tell me that all the time.
I'm his twin brother. Why do you have all this X-Files memorabilia? And your driver's license says David Duchovny. My brother David lent me his driver's license.
I can't drive. Why are you driving then?
Why do you have a picture in your wallet of you and Taya Leone?
Yeah,
I love my sister-in-law.
Why would he be showing I guess a prostitute or another woman his driver's
that's
license?
things-
Is it like to verify?
Yeah,
So
I
she
think
can use his credit card?
So,
or-
so he can write a check for her. And of course, there's always their sister, Denise Duchovny, who's just David Duchovny with a wig on,
Basically from Twin
like
Peaks.
in
old
Twin
Twin
Peaks.
Peaks.
He was Denise Duchovny in Twin Peaks. So anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if an earlier version of this script had Gerard Butler as a much more like dissolute character, more of a womanizer, more of a, I don't know if he would have
More
been
of a
like
cad.
more of a cad, exactly, a blackguard, a bounder, you know. But instead, he's just kind of like comes off as like a bland teddy bear.
Yeah.
anyway,
it's like, oh man, life has really not turned out for me.
But it's,
Soccer player guy that I am.
I live
he
in
doesn't
this
seem
guy's
to need-
garage and
he does every now and
always
then.
have a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
He shaves it. He uses one of those guards on the razor, so he just shaves it to a certain length.
Well, you can do that?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's barber
Is that how you
technology.
do it?
Yes. No,
man.
I just don't shave for a week at a time. I call it the Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
So anyway, but his landlord will say like, "Where's the rent, Gerard?" Not Gerard, because that's not the character's name. Where's the rent, Gerard? And he's like, "I'll get it to you." But other than that, he doesn't seem to have any money problems. Like, I don't know how he. I assume he doesn't support his wife anymore, or his kid, but that's never touched on. You know,
Oh, yeah. Because she probably makes $1 million
doing the job we never see her doing.
Yeah.
that she can't leave town for.
So anyway, but these ladies start to take an interest in him, and eventually Judy
Of course,
Greer
he's the hot man meat on the block.
basically stalks him in the middle of the night and comes to his house, and they do it. And then she is kind of gone from the movie for the most part. And
Well, she's fulfilled her destiny.
but as a result, he's
screwing
late.
Gerard Butler.
As a result,
Yeah.
he's late the next day for soccer practice or taking his son somewhere or something like that.
So
and
by having sex with a woman, he actually has to pay consequences.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like he's a bad dad or something.
he is a bad dad. That's the thing.
They could
but
have
not
named
for
the movie Bad Dad.
And they called it soccer. They should have called it Soccer Dad. But so then Catherine Zeta-Jones says, "Hey, I saw your audition tape, and it's really good, but we can make a better one. Come to the TV studio with me." And he's like, well, I'm supposed to spend time with my son today. Also, Dennis Quaid called him to bail him out of jail. So that's another reason he was
To bail
Dennis Quaid out of jail. So
Do you have sex with Dennis Quaid?
I have to assume off camera.
Okay.
Because Gerard Butler's just...
Dennis Quaid was in jail for like drunk driving, by the way, which is like this is a side note, but
Dan is about to defend drunk drivers. If I know Dan, he usually says this right before he explains why it's not that bad.
Just fast forward.
no, this is
Skip ahead 30 seconds.
This is a side note, but we are introduced to Dennis Quaid when he hands a envelope full of money to Gerard Butler, being like, if my kid was the goalie, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'm not pressuring you, and I've got a daughter who sings really well. I mean, she could sing the national anthem, but
because that's something that happens before Pee Wee soccer games.
And he does that, and then later on, as Elliot said, he gives Gerard Butler a car, basically, and you would expect
not just a car, Dan, a Ferrari, the height of the automobile industry.
Not according to the fellows on Top Gear.
Oh
UK.
boy, what would they say the Top Gear is? Like a Yugo,
like 11,
like a Prius,
like a Dart, a Dodge Dart,
like
like an El Camino,
a Toyota Corolla,
Stop fucking pressuring
like
me.
an Adam Corolla
Okay, I've never watched the
Adam
show.
Carolla.
Okay, I've seen the ads on the
buses.
on the bus stops.
Bus stops. How do you see an ad on the top of a bus? Are you in a helicopter?
My point is,
Are you riding in that goose flying machine that
Okay,
Jeff
I
Daniels
wonder-
used in Fly Away Home?
or the one that Tim Robbins and Howard the Duck used in Howard the Duck,
Or the gyrocopter from Road Warrior? Or the hot air balloon from Wizard of Oz?
or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Stop naming things from movies.
But the point is, though, when
that flying motorcycle from Looper?
when Dennis Quaid is in jail, you expect it to be for embezzling something. Like
Yeah.
the movie sets up another shooter drop that never drops.
There's a lot of dropped plot lines in this. That's one of them.
Yeah, Dennis
Quaid then
disappears from the film.
until the final third of the movie.
Yeah.
For the most part.
He's got stuff to do, man.
And apparently he just has money that he likes throwing around.
He's a rich guy. He does business.
Unlike Gerard Butler and Jessica Biel, he has a job to do. you know?
a business job. There's a part
He
where
was always on the business phone doing business
you're,
stuff.
You're introduced to him. He's walking by Gerard Butler on the soccer field, and he's talking to the phone, and you just hear him go, do the due diligence. And it's almost like they said to Dennis Quaid, just talk business stuff into the phone. And due diligence was the phrase that came to mind.
Spreadsheets.
Wait, are you saying that isn't
Excel.
think-
Conference call.
that wasn't in the original script?
Maybe it was. It's a stroke of genius if it was. Profit. Supply and demand.
It tells you everything you need to know about that character in one sentence.
In
Well,
one
clearly the
sentence, due
scriptwriter
diligence.
had been just listening in on conversations and writing them down to try and get the flow of human
Yeah, he did a
speech.
ride along with the business.
Anyway, so he's missed out time with his son because he was
ride-along.
bailing Dennis Quaid out of jail. He's hanging out with his son. Catherine Zeta-Jones says, "Hey, come over to my house. We can make a better audition tape for you."
Yeah.
They get to her house and
Heard
she
that
says,
before.
"Let's leave the kid at my house and we'll go to the studio." He's like, well, how long is this going to take?" She says, "Not more than an hour." They leave. They make the audition tape and love. Catherine Zeta-Jones pressures him into doing it. So at this
totally
point,
do it.
the main character, Gerard Butler, this dissolute womanizer who's got to get over his caddish ways, has had sex with one woman as an act of sympathy,
Yeah.
and has been pressured into sex with another woman, or else his job is on the
Partly
line.
to get a job, yeah.
And then that's it.
And then that's the
Those
end
are
of the sex.
The two women he has sex
He
with.
does go home and find that Uma Thurman, Dennis Quaid's wife, is waiting in his bed, and she wants to do it with him too.
But that's his friend's wife.
But that's
Yeah,
his
they're
friend's
too
wife,
close.
and his friend has already said to him something about like he cheats on her, but he'll never give her up for any man except maybe a dead man. Which
is
I think
weird.
it means I'm going to kill someone who sleeps with my wife. But it comes off as if she's a necrophiliac, I'm cool with it.
Like the
Yep,
Crypt
if-
Keeper could totally do it with him.
Like if Frankenstein's monster tried to horn in on my wife, okay.
If somebody can find their way around this gypsy's curse.
If the boyfriend from my boyfriend's back fell in love with her, then I'd be totally okay with it.
Would she then be the girlfriend?
If Chud 2, Bud the Chud came knocking.
If this was a cold body scenario, I just have to let it ride.
Yeah.
Bud the Chud just walking over
It's my buddy, Bud.
the Chud. Let's not
clarify.
Bud T.
So that's
Chud
not the other Bud.
from the desk of Bud T. Chud. Dear sirs,
Bud, just take her out, show her a good time. Go watch HUD.
hang out with Paul Rudd. Play in the mud. Join your cud. Chud, won't you?
Now it's making me angry.
Okay, so basically, this guy's got a whole lot of women causing a whole lot of trouble. But the main problem is that it's
exactly
It's your fucking synopsis of Three's Company.
That's how my penthouse letter starts.
Dear Penthouse, I had a whole lot of women making a whole lot of trouble. Let me backtrack. I work at a home for criminally insane women.
Start in the middle.
I work at a women factory.
I never thought this would happen to me.
That's good letter writing. Start in the middle and work your way back.
Dear Penthouse Forum, I never thought this would happen to me, but I fell through a time warp into the past. I had to fight a dinosaur to escape. There's no sex in this letter, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Love, Elliot.
It was just very unexpected.
Really never thought it would happen
Great
to me.
story.
It's an amazing story, if you will.
It's been optioned for an episode of Amazing Stories.
I had another amazing story happen to me. I was in this bomber plane, and the landing gear wouldn't go down.
So I drew new landing gear. It's a magic cartoon. My name's Kevin Costner. Good night. That's
Good night, everybody.
That's who was in that episode.
Good
But
save.
not good night. The show's not over. Anyway, so basically what's happening is
A lot of women causing a lot of problems.
More women, more problems.
Yeah, you got that right. Anyway, Gerard Butler is spending too much time with the ladies, not enough with his son, and his son is realizing this and getting surly and mad. And his son
Yeah.
is unhappy because Jessica Biel is going to get married to her new boyfriend.
Who
And
seems
he
like a
doesn't-
nice guy,
Who
by
seems
the
like
way.
a very nice guy. We were talking about this. It's like the husband in Superman Returns, or the boyfriend in that, where it's like the nicest guy, so much nicer than Superman.
Yeah.
But he gets dumped because he's not Superman. And he thinks
Well, maybe if he works out really hard, he can be Superman, right?
No, he can't. The yellow sun doesn't have that effect on him.
Maybe if he goes to another planet.
He doesn't have the ability to.
Yeah.
If he goes-
Trade planets.
Maybe he goes to a planet
It's
with
like
a blue
planet
sun.
exchange.
Interplanetary exchange student.
Yeah.
So his son is getting mad, and his son sees Catherine Zeta-Jones kissing him and realizes that's what he's doing. He's dallying with the ladies instead of hanging out with his son. His son gets really mad, and he eventually makes it up to him. There's not a lot of...
Yeah, there's not like
There's not a
I'm
lot
not really
of-
sure what the turnaround is too. Like Gerard Butler makes it up to him. Jessica Biel like sees him with her son and is like, oh,
He like starts hanging out with his son more. They play soccer in the rain. Jessica Biel sees him with his son and is like, you know what? He's changed, but I don't want to admit it. She's going to try on her wedding dress, and he shows up after he goes to Bristol, Connecticut, and auditions for an ESPN anchor job.
Bristol, Connecticut, the big city.
The big city. That's when Bristol, Connecticut is mentioned. He's like, wow. Bristol, really? Like as if there was any,
dissolve it to like neon signs.
I know it's big because that's where ESPN is, but like the town of Bristol is not so exciting.
Yeah.
It's just it's him walking down the street with
where they make Bristol board paper.
there's signs for like hula hands, Home Depot, Applebee's, Supercuts. But anyway, but he makes a difference. He goes to his wife his ex-wife who's trying on a wedding dress, and he says, I'm going to Connecticut for this thing, but I still love you. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, I can't move to Connecticut. It's over. If you love me, let me go. And then she stomps out of the dressing room. And then when he stomps out of the dressing room, she's in his car, and she says,
waiting
no,
for him.
I still love you. I never stop loving you, blah, blah, blah. And they start kissing. It's super gushy.
It's like girl stuff or something.
Well, it's because do you think this whole fiance thing was just a long bluff to get this guy to be a better dad?
Yeah. Just playing
like a
along.
long
Very
con.
long con. They were gaslighting him into being a better dad.
Gaslighting.
trying,
to
to
get his inheritance.
trying to drive him crazy with jealousy. So he's doing great. It's the championship game tomorrow. This has not been built up at all. And while they're playing the game, everything seems to be going great until Dennis Quaid shows up.
Dennis Quaid shows up from the first act of the movie.
He's disappeared for a while, and in his hand he's got pictures that a detective took of Uma Thurman in her underpants.
He was probably getting those pictures developed. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
For a
all
long,
the time.
that's the other thing is that he has
Well,
literally
like in this age of digital cameras, he
Yeah.
had to find someone.
Yeah, he had to find a place that would
he had
do
to
the
find the
developing.
last 1 hour photo store that was open in Connecticut, whatever state this is.
Yeah.
Connecticut, I guess. He drives to Bristol, but
He had to buy bulk Kodak film off of eBay.
because they don't make that
big
stuff
thing,
anymore.
yeah.
But anyway,
You should teach Gerard Butler how to eBay all of his sports memorabilia so he
that's-
doesn't have to take it to the one small sporting
as
goods
they,
store.
earlier on, Gerard Butler tries to sell his sports memorabilia from when he was a soccer player, and the guy goes, "I guess I can give you $300 for all of it." It's like, well, yeah, nobody wants to buy this shit here. Like, put it up on eBay so international sellers can bid on it.
Yeah, some guy in England will love this.
Yeah, some crazy English soccer guy. Anyway,
They call them footy fans.
I thought
FS,
those
for
were
sure.
that's the kind of
just
pajamas
fans
they
of
wear.
Pajamas. Yeah.
fans of pajamas.
Yeah, pajama fans.
Yeah, for PajamaCon 2013
Pajama fetishes.
at the
Probably
Javits Center.
thing.
That is probably an industry thing for the pajama industry.
Yeah, JamaCon.
I'm in the pajama game, you might say. Anyway, we're in the home stretch of the film,
pajama
people.
game.
We're in the home stretch. Dennis Quaid,
Hernando's Hideaway.
Dennis Quaid confronts Dennis Quaid confronts him with these pictures that were taken by a detective who was following Uma Thurman. Gerard Butler says, "I didn't sleep with your wife," but Dennis Quaid's not buying it. So they wrestle. The kids win the game, and he misses it because he's wrestling. And the kids see them wrestling, and go dog pile, and jump on everybody,
Yeah.
and then run away. But Jessica Biel's seen it, and she is not impressed.
And I like to point out, like, this was the screenplay's attempt at dramatic irony, where he gets in trouble with Jessica Biel for the one woman he didn't actually sleep with.
Yeah. So she thinks he's back to his womanizing ways. He says, "Forget this," and he just leaves to go to Connecticut. And the fiance says to Jessica Biel, "Are you still in love? Are you in love with him again?" And she goes, "I never stopped being in love with him,"
And
which is
he
a
seems
crushing thing to say to the fiance. But he seems
kinda
okay
cool
with
with
it.
it.
He's
He's
like,
I mean, he
All
is
right,
in a
well-
town full
Yeah.
of babes.
That's the
dude.
thing, when
he's
he's-
gonna bounce back,
They are
he's
hot
probably
to
got
trot.
he's got a job.
Starring Bobcat Goldthwait.
he's a talking horse. So you're saying that? So what you're saying is that his reaction is like, "All right, I guess I'll just dive into the sea of poon that is this town."
But it does feel
he
like
has a job, probably, right? Or is she supporting?
I have no
him?
idea.
I
They
mean,
never
he's got
live
shit
in the
together.
same
He wears
house,
a sweater
though,
for
like-
fuck's sake.
They do live in the same house. Yeah.
It feels like, okay, well, my last 3 years of my life have been a lie, and you are totally destroying your son's life by switching up father figures. But
3 years
whatever.
is a long time, dude.
It is.
He's probably hungry for some new babes.
It's
The 3-year itch, they
like,
call it.
just like Gremlins 2, the new babes.
We're
Now,
not allowed to talk about gremlins right now, I think.
okay.
Dan said we weren't.
What?
You made a no Gremlins rule? All right.
Not
Anyway,
until after midnight.
so Gremlins Butler is going to drive to Connecticut for this ESPN job. I just made you interested in the movie for the first time,
Yeah.
didn't he? But he says he's driving down that road, and he says
Gremlins would make terrible butlers, by the
he
way.
thinks they would make terrible butlers. That's true. They'd be throwing the hors d'oeuvres at the guests. They'd be strapping Gizmo to the dinner platter with with an apple in his mouth instead of a pig.
yeah.
And
Ugh, that's a bad idea.
and then
It was a bad idea for my bat mitzvah that I was throwing.
who are you throwing a bat mitzvah for?
Some lady.
I mean, she's a lady now.
Yeah. She wasn't at the time.
Hey, whoa,
It was a
wait,
transition
whoa! So what did you do to her?
No, the bat mitzvah.
But it hasn't happened yet. You say
No.
you're throwing the bat
No, it
mitzvah.
was a bad idea, I was saying.
Okay, a bad
When it
mitzvah.
happened.
So anyway,
A bat mitzvah.
That would be a great movie title, by the way.
bad mitzvah.
Yeah.
That is a great
Oh,
movie
I thought
title.
you meant bat mitzvah. It's
That's
like
a great movie title too.
vampires invade a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, because there's nothing racist about portraying Jews as vampires. You're racist. Anyway, so Gerard Butler turns the car around and goes
Gerard
home.
Butler.
He decides that his family is more important than his job. Jessica Biel says, "Hey, I broke it off with my fiance," and they play soccer in the front yard. And then there's a little title sequence during the credits that reveals that he got a local newscaster job as a sports reporter.
Yeah, that's just as good as
Why
ESPN,
shoot for the
guys.
stars?
Why shoot for the stars
Be
when,
a good dad and get a shitty job.
when you
and
can
you're-
aim for
and
the
you're-
top of a hill?
And the greatest thing about this movie, the end
Is
of
it's
the movie,
over now.
is the way that everything is resolved without anyone changing at all.
Nobody does nothing in this movie. This is a movie that it is a comedy without laughs, it's a drama without drama, and it is a character study without characters.
Well, that's the thing.
This is maybe the most nothing movie I've seen in a long time. There's like no movie in this movie.
But that's what makes
It's like
it not
this
fattening.
yeah, I guess it's true. It's a non-fattening movie. You can watch as much as you want of it. It's never going to get weigh on your
Yeah.
mind. It's like someone took the legal documents you need to fill out to make a movie and just shot that. Didn't bother to put any names or information in.
They shot reviews of other movies.
So we were going to talk about. You wanted to mention
The
was it
thing that
lack
bothered
of
me the
jokes?
most, well, no, like the thing that confused me the most about this movie is the strange tone of it, where there's like stuff in the middle that feels like it really should be like a sex farce with like, oh, Gerard Butler is having sex with all of these like
Oh,
soccer
he's
moms,
got hot and cold running
and-
babes,
and the-
in one door out the other.
and his landlord is looking through the window and being like, how does he do it? But it
That
is
was
like
pretty great.
it is done at such a slow pace. Like it feels like it should be French farce, and it's done super slowed down and wistful
yeah,
and kind
it's
of like
done as
dramedy.
as if we're supposed to be touched by what's going on.
There wasn't enough like hiding one babe in the closet while the other babe berates him.
He was going for our heart when he should have been going for a funny bone.
That's right.
But it's really slowed down and not funny. The character never seems to be in any kind of like frantic trouble or anything like that.
Yeah, and there's no. I mean,
Gerard Butler doesn't do frantic.
we've talked
No,
about there's no payoff
He
really.
does barely anything. He walks around without a shirt. That's basically his thing.
There's no payoff to Dennis Quaid being like this sleazy, like rich guy, and there's also no payoff really to
There's no payoff to Judy Greer.
the women. Yeah.
Well, Judy Greer shows up later dating his landlord, but like, there's no complications or problems there.
It's just like, oh, I found this other guy, so everything's fixed now.
Catherine Zeta-Jones shows up and wants to have sex with him, and he's like, "Really? I don't think we should." And she's like, "So you got yours, and that's it? And you're just leaving me out to hang? All right, I guess." And she's just, I guess, mad at him, but nothing happens afterwards.
Yeah, this feels like a bigger bomb that should explode under.
No, this
the
was
movie.
a bomb, all right.
No, but like it feels like
No, but I know what you mean.
they're building it up to be like, oh, all of these women who wanted Gerard Butler are going to like converge, and Jessica Biel is going to be like, oh, you've been screwing the whole town.
And I think it's only made more obvious because Jessica Biel makes a comment about how he always does this. He always like lets things build up, and then when he explodes, he explodes.
And it never
But there's
explodes.
no like the
Yeah,
explosion.
she literally says that, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's like a plate. A farce should be like a plate spinning act, where the story is kind of frantically spinning all the plates to keep them up. But this is one where like they started one plate spinning, started spinning another. The first plate fell down. They were like, "Fuck it, I'll start a third plate." Second plate fell down.
Yeah.
I'll start a fourth plate. 2 plates fall down. Whatever. I don't
movie's
care.
over.
You know what? Let's just throw on some fucking titles. We're over. It's credits.
This movie feels like a bowl of oatmeal with no sugar, no syrup, no milk, like just like
Oatmeal
plain
is
old
oatmeal is a nutritious, fortifying food.
That's true. I'm just
This
saying,
is like a
It helps
bowl
you
of
with your
dust.
movements.
There's no
This
variation
is
in
like taking
it.
a bite of a bowl of dust. Not satisfying. There's no nutrition. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
This was a movie people made, and at no point were they like, "We don't really have a story in this movie."
Oh, by the way, our main character has no character to him other than the fact that
What's
he
this guy's
used to be a
motivation?
soccer player.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Gerard Butler will charm the pants off the ladies, literally. But no, he doesn't. Like it's.
I do have to say that I like that the scene with Uma Thurman where she is in her underpants, and we made a comment how it was shot like it was like a Showtime After Hours movie.
Yeah.
And that actually it turned into a Showtime's After Hours plot where there was a guy outside the window taking like lewd snaps of the whole situation. I kind of like that. I like that it was almost like it was foreshadowing what would happen.
The only difference is a Showtime movie would have had this, given you the satisfaction of a 4-way lesbian sex scene between all the women, or I guess if it was a seduction cinema movie or something like that.
And I mean, like the closest thing to something I enjoyed in the movie was like an early, like sort of the early scenes where all of
With
the
Dennis
soccer
Quaid.
moms were like looking on at Gerard Butler and being really excited about him. And I thought it was kind of funny. Like it was like because he was so bland, it was just like, yeah, they're just turned on because he's like Gerard Butler and he's got a Scottish accent. Like,
There's nothing else about him that.
yeah. And
I-
Dennis Quaid, yeah, was charming.
And there are things about like Judy Greer is cast as the like mousy she's supposed to be the like not as attractive woman, but it's very weird because she's like a very it's
Yeah,
one of
she's
those
an
movies.
attractive
I would
lady.
say
One of those
she's
movies.
easily on par with Gerard Butler
Oh,
Yeah.
certainly, but it's one of
or
those
Gremlin Battler, depending on how you want to
Gremlin Battler. It's like that's his name from now on. But there's a certain thing that like movies used to have different types of faces or like different levels of attractiveness in characters, and I feel like now a movie cannot have anyone who's unattractive. So a woman who's supposed to be cute but not like super beautiful is played by a beautiful woman, and it doesn't make sense for the character.
But
you know?
also, like, I feel like in old screwball comedies, like, funny women were allowed to also be attractive women, too.
yeah.
And
Well,
I
but
feel
she-
like in this movie, it's just like, okay, well, we've got the funny lady, and then we've got the hot ladies, you know, and, Judy Greer, whatever.
But but we got to have pretty people, so we'll cast her in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I like her a lot. Is the thing. I think she's a
Yeah.
really funny comedian and a really likable performer. But it seems weird to put her in a role where like it feels like she's almost outgrown as an actress. You know,
yeah. I feel like we're there
like
already.
she's not playing Kitty in Arrested Development anymore.
Yeah. Oh, if only.
Well, when the movie comes out, maybe for the Netflix series.
Sure. I think that we're there, so we should just
No, we're right here.
go to the final judgments about whether this was a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of liked. What do you say, Stuart?
Where does best movie ever fall into those categories?
Well, it's far
Nah,
outside
no,
of
wait.
those.
I was just joking.
Oh.
It is it's
Wait, is this a bit?
I can't like I'm not mad at the movie. It's just
I mean,
so
I
heard
kind of
it.
am. I was.
it's super bland and boring.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
it's not
kind of-
much of a movie.
I was not mad while we were watching it, but I'm mad talking about it now. But it's like this is a movie that like an old person could watch while they're sleeping. Like it's perfect for that. Like that's the perfect audience for this film.
They're actually watching it while they're sleeping.
Well, they're dozing away in an armchair with this movie playing. They won't wake them up. So what do you say, Stuart?
I'm going to say bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say bad too. I'm sort of baffled that they shot this script as it existed.
Yeah.
It just seems like anyone would look at it and be like, well, you got no conflict here and you got
And
no
there
characters.
are some there's some good actors in it.
Yeah.
There
like,
are a ton of good actors in it. It's
it
a big
attracted
name
talent.
It's a big name cast. This is Gremlin Battler, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Dennis Quaid, Uma Thurman, Jessica Biel, Judy Greer. Like this is a big cast of names.
And
it's
they've all,
like,
at least a lot of them have done comedy successfully.
yes.
Gremlin Battler was in Ugly Truth.
yeah,
Obviously.
sure.
Yeah,
The
very
most
successful.
successful comedy.
Very successful as a comedy. And I would also give it's like I almost don't want to give this movie a rating because it kind of doesn't rise to the
That's
level
the
of
thing.
deserving
It's barely
one.
a
Sort of
movie.
disappears.
I feel like a
It's
good
like eating a meringue.
like a good bad movie is fun to watch and a bad movie is painful to watch, but this was just like a thing. This was like this is the
It's like you blacked out and 2 hours later.
this is like the parsley garnish on a plate that you just put to the side. That's what it is as a movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough.
So our highest recommendation for Playing for Keeps.
I think, Elliot, you have something to say before we move on to our next
I
segment.
do have something to say. Now everybody knows we've joined the All Things Comedy Network, and that means we're going to
AllThingsComedy.com.
go to allthingscomedy.com for great podcasts. They're all comedy, all things comedy, that is. But it also means we've got a sponsor. Ooh, exciting.
Yay.
And is it a good sponsor? Yes, it's a great sponsor. I'm going to spend a minute here, or maybe 40 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. I don't know. Telling you about a little company called TiVo that I think you're going to like.
TIVO.
T-I, big T, little I, big V, little O. Now, television. We all love it, but it's a pain to watch, right? It is a pain. It takes forever, and tell you what, you got to sit there and watch TV shows when your TV tells you they're going to be on. Well, not anymore, friends. Not anymore. Thanks to a little thing called TiVo. No longer are you a slave to the tyranny of television scheduling. Now, thanks to TiVo, you can watch shows whenever you want, wherever you want. That's DVR technology. And TiVo has the best of DVR technology. I'm a Time Warner customer. I hate it. Their DVR is a piece of garbage. It is literally a box full of garbage. But TiVo has a great DVR box. They've also got TiVo Stream, which lets you watch TV on your iPad and transfer your favorite recordings so you can take them with you anywhere. Name a place you can take your TiVo recording with you. Name a place, both of you.
The gym.
You can take it with you.
The bathroom.
You can take it with you.
The butcher shop.
You can take it with you.
The Caribbean.
You can take it with you.
The Caribbean.
Yeah,
No.
same place. You can take it with you. Anywhere. It also, only TiVo searches cable and the internet for any show, movie, or video you want to see. Do other DVRs do that? No, of course not. They're terrible. This is like making Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon, YouTube. They're just channels on your TV now. Thanks to TiVo. Just flip through them whenever you want. There's TiVo Mini, which makes one TiVo box work for 2 different TVs. You're taking your shows everywhere. Now you can watch Invisible Maniac wherever you want, whenever you want.
Wait a minute.
Stuart, I know you think that's great, because it is. And now, visitors to TiVo.com, like you, can get $25 off a new TiVo Premiere, P4, or XL4 DVR by using a special promo code. That promo code, it's easy to remember, ATC. It's All Things Comedy.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So for
Easy.
$25 off until November 1st, go to TiVo.com and put in code ATC. TiVo is the best DVR alternative, and that's from me, Elliot Kalin. Legally binding.
Thank you, Elliot.
TiVo, bringing you the Flophouse.
So now we move on to the Flophouse movie mailbag, letters from listeners. This first letter of the evening.
Oh,
It
so
is-
tired from that sponsor ad. I don't have
Yeah.
time for a song. Everyone should go buy a TiVo so I have more energy for singing.
Letters, letters. I'm singing a song about letters.
pretty
I
good.
love it. That was good. I don't like the ending.
This
I think it should have
I
sounded
didn't
more like
stick
this.
the ending.
Letters. Singing a song about letters. We're gonna read some letters from you, the listeners. You, The listeners, the people who listen and write the letters. They make words.
I mean, it's
words
longer.
from
I don't
you.
know what the-
Words from the listeners to us about things that we know or we say on the Flophouse today. They're
a Marvin Hamlish feel to
letters.
this.
See, I'm like the fat sloppy coach using
Let's
the
talk
cell
about
phone at the
letters.
beginning of the movie.
All right,
Letters.
come on. All right.
And it's time for letters.
So this first letter
I'll get to part 2 of the song later.
is titled "Great Email for the Show." Asterisk. Dan compliments included.
It's a letter from Asterix, the French comic character.
Asterisk and obelisk.
Obelisk wrote it too.
This is from First Name Withheld Jones. He says, "Dear Dan,
That's totally unorthodox.
dear Dan, Elliot, and Stuart, and House Cat.
Doug Jones.
Another great episode,
Dave
guys.
Sapien himself.
Give yourselves a round of applause, and for Stuart, a round of beers. Am I right, Stuart? Up top."
Oh, yeah.
Before I get to the point of this email, spoiler alert, there isn't one. Let me just say that Dan is the smartest, funniest, and best-looking host on the show.
So it was Dan Jones who wrote this.
Oh.
Dan McCoy Jones.
Also, he has a larger penis than the other two hosts. No, not true. And has banged at least triple the amount of chicks of Elliot and Stuart combined.
I know that's not true.
Let me also add that this is not Dan writing this, nor did Dan ask me to say these things.
But still, Dan is a super cool dude.
They are all true facts. Deal with it. With that out of the way, I would like
Doesn't
to ask...
Dan suck?
I would like...
He really set you up for a punch there.
what a...
With that out of the way,
With that out of the way, I would like to ask each of you dudes a question. And those questions are, for Stuart, who is your all-time favorite wrestler? If the answer to that question is
Brutus
Macho
the Barber
Man-
Beefcake.
All right. Well, you
I had a
cut it
T-shirt
off.
and I had Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I can't. Oh, you finish.
No, it's just, if the answer to that question is Macho Man Randy Savage, you can please do an impression. But it's not.
it's not.
It's not. It's Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I had a T-shirt. I had a wall hanging. I celebrated every time he choked somebody out and then cut his hair.
Why did he cut his hair?
I don't know. He cut to shame them. I think.
Oh, we would cut the other guy's hair.
No, he wouldn't cut his own hair. That'd be crazy.
I thought that was
That's the
he would
source of
choke
his
a guy
power. Those
and then
giant
look at it and then
shears?
hold up a mirror and cut his own hair.
Although, as I've gotten older, I think I prefer
Most
Ravishing
beautiful.
Rick Rude and his with his pants that had beautiful ladies on them. And he had different pants every time he wrestled. I kind of wish I had a pair of those pants.
Different ladies.
Yeah.
Second question for Dan. Have you tried the new Hot Mess Burger at Jack in the Box?
This is the East Coast. There are no Jack in the
What
Boxes.
is your opinion on the
There-
TV ads for said burger?
There are no Jacks in the Box, nor television commercials
You're
for the
answering
same
for me
in
but
our region.
That is accurate.
Oh, sorry, Dan, you answer.
No, I don't know why this was a question for me. In
You should
particular.
YouTube it.
Dan, you're a big Jack in the. I am to Popeyes as you are to Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I'm a real jackhead. I've not had said burger. But for Elliot, if you were trapped on a deserted island, as in an island full of desserts, what would you want the dessert to be?
Something chocolate.
Oh, boring.
That is boring.
And lastly,
What? It's a dessert question. I'm not ready to answer that.
for the Flophouse house cat, can I get a row row? Thanks, guys. Love you all. That's from First Name Withheld Jones.
Thanks, Jones.
Hey, thanks, Jones.
Sorry, I didn't have an exciting answer, but sometimes real life isn't
And
exciting.
thank you for giving me
You
an
gotta deal
excuse to
with
talk about
disappointment.
Ravishing Rick Rude. He's been on my mind lately.
He's always on my mind. This is titled Intentionally Bad Movies from Ben Last Name Withheld.
10.
He says, "Hello there, floppers.
Ben
I think
10.
you guys are great and wonderful. I wanted to know, do you think it's possible to successfully recreate the aesthetic and sensibilities of good bad movies or media? I feel like Tim and Eric shoot for this sort of thing, as does Larry Blamire, or Blamire, I don't know how to say that,
Larry Budnell.
You said it right.
who makes the made the B movie spoof film The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. Have you seen it? Off the top of your heads, what are some tropes of good bad movies or moments of good badness in bad films that you feel no intentionally good bad movie could do without? Flops off to you, Ben Last Name Withheld." Now, this is something that I have strong feelings about. I am against
Okay.
trying to simulate badness in films. I feel like if you have the skill to make a good movie, why not just fucking make a good movie?
And let the bad movies be a happy accident of the incompetent.
Yeah, I feel like Tim and Eric do something else. There's a value added there. You know, like there's some comedy there. It's not just recreating.
Well, I think when you try to make a bad movie, personally, it's for comedic purposes.
Yeah.
But it's often that you're so in on the joke that it doesn't come off. And the Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, I've actually been meaning to see for years, and I have not seen it.
I saw it and I found it funny for about 6 minutes and boring for the rest
Well,
of
that's part of the strength of Tim and Eric. I haven't seen their movie, but their show is short, and the bits are short.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I would imagine in a long form situation, it would be overwhelming, like eating too much sugary cereal in one go, like
Yeah.
the Speed Racer movie or something.
it. But I like the Speed Racer movie.
Yeah, I mean that's a good bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
But I do agree that there's something about when someone aims high and fails that is more funny and enjoyable than when somebody purposefully aims low as a joke.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny if maybe like you spoof a bad movie for like a sketch for like 5 minutes, but I'm not a fan of it either, really.
Yeah, I
But
mean, like-
maybe I'll see one day that I really like. I don't know.
I mean, the beauty of something like The Room, which is, I guess, like the new reigning champion of bad movies, is like that is clearly a passion project. That is a deeply felt film.
Yeah.
That is 100% wrong.
That is terrible. That was made by someone who had no idea what he was doing, but he did it as hard as possible.
Yeah, and he loved that movie.
Probably convinced some poor guys into giving them a bunch of money. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it's all on the screen. It's beautiful up there.
It is all on
I want to live in there.
but yeah, it's.
I want to live on that green screen roof.
But I've also yet to see like a purposefully bad movie that reached anywhere near the heights of bliss of a real bad movie,
Yeah.
of a non-purposefully bad movie.
This next letter is titled A Request. Sarah, not Dan's wife here. I was just listening to the Oogie Loves.
Michael Cera.
Yeah. I was just listening to the Oogie Loves episode, which was, I must admit, only ghoulishly okay. Well, that's...
Whoa.
Wait, what?
I feel like that's not generally held opinion, but that's fine.
And also, it's weird that you would open with a with that evaluation.
But no, she goes on. There's more to the letter.
Okay, well, you know what?
All your other episodes were terrible.
So this was an improvement. I hate your podcast, and I'll never listen to it again. Thanks for reading my letter.
She goes on. However, it immediately shot to one wormy boner levels of awesomeness when it came to the part where Dan was earnestly trying to plug the Oscar pool. The sheer irritation in his voice, combined with Stuart and Elliot's complete indifference to his annoyance, encapsulated what I feel is the heart and soul of the podcast. Dan tries to do something correctly, like plug charities for cancer research, and Stuart and Elliot try to distract him at every turn.
Not even try. Successfully distract him.
It's been revealed in prior episodes that when I listen to the podcast, I think of Dan as a giant teddy bear. But after listening
There's
to
a picture of that,
the
isn't there?
I think there must be. After listening to the Oogie Loves episode, I'd like to amend that. I now think of Dan as an incredibly bitter, slightly inebriated teddy bear, like the Snuggle Bear, but one which clutches a bottle of Jack Daniels like a life preserver.
Yeah.
So thanks, Dan.
Pretty close, actually.
It's very
The
accurate.
podcast is only enriched by your thinly concealed anger.
Now there's an example there. If we had written and performed a bit where Dan is trying to get out the information about this cancer fundraiser and Stuart and Elliot just won't let him finish, would not have been that good. But the fact that we were
The
really
reality
doing
of my rage.
the real inability for him to complete it. 'cause we were
Guys, stop it!
I'm trying to do something good here.
Yeah, flawless impression.
Guys, it's me, Dan.
Oh,
I'm a moron.
I'm Dan. I'm so dumb. So
Hold on.
it was
Why did I say that? That's what I don't
so
understand.
it was way better as a real failed thing than as a fake failed thing.
But she goes on. Seriously, though, I hope the Oscar pool netted millions for new skateboards,
Millions.
new skateboards, Big League Chew, and fancy fees for the house cat. It was for cancer. We established
Does
that.
the house cat have cancer? I hope not.
Finally, my request.
That'd be a dark wrinkle.
Elliot, I appeal to you on behalf of America. Talk to your BFF, Anne Hathaway. Since the two of you grew up across the street from one another,
Not true.
and you were the
Well,
ducky to her Andy,
Nope.
the shake to her bake,
What?
the chip to her Dale.
Wait, what?
I have
wish
to
that
believe
we were rescue rangers.
Yeah. I have to believe that if there's one person she would listen to, it would be you. Please, please, please ask her to tone it down. The feigned bashfulness, the winning smile, the batted eyes, it's not doing anything for her. So please, Elliot, save her from herself. In return, I'll hold the CEO of Popeyes captive until he agrees to give you free Popeyes for life. Keep up the floptastic work. Signed, Sarah, not Dan's wife.
Sarah, you drive a hard bargain, but I think Anne's doing great.
I mean, I think
Also,
she's
I'm
doing
not
that
her-
to get over the loss of her high school love, right?
Also,
played
we
by
were,
Elliot
we were
Kalin in
not
this
high school
movie.
loves or friends. Don't really know her very well or at all. And frankly, if I had free lifetime access to Popeyes, I would die tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Oh, interesting.
A Popeyes overdose.
I appreciate it. A gentleman never tells, and Elliot
Nothing
still
to tell.
will not tell the details
Nothing to tell.
of his torrid love affair.
There was none.
his 4-year love affair.
I think she's doing great right now.
That was
And
before.
Happy to
That
have
was
another
before a
successful
growth
Milburn
spurt.
High School alum. No relationship.
All right. Well, the last letter of the evening.
Wait, he just winked.
Twist.
I was talking about Wink Martindale, the game show host.
The last letter of the evening is from Peter, last name withheld.
Parker.
It's titled Flophouse Drinking Game. Dear Original
Okay.
Peaches,
I think that's just the Flophouse.
while burning the late night oil in the wake of engaging in a highly productive drinking game centered around the movie Demolition Man, featuring Sylvester Stallone's cryogenically frozen taint in a starring role, it dawned on me
I
that
don't remember that part.
Also known as Wesley Snipes.
it dawned on me that
You're
a
welcome,
flophouse
guys. You're just welcome for that one.
I think we just won an award for that joke.
I'll take it in Coors Light.
Flophouse drinking game is one of the last missing pieces in this great puzzle we call civilization. Sorry, pardon me. I'm taking a drink now. With a thunderous Eureka! I sank my teeth into the soft
Dan's
flesh
hometown.
of my underarm and began writing the rules of said drinking game onto my walls in blood.
Okay.
Just now returning from the hospital, I present them to you as a suggestion to be amended and expanded
A
upon.
lot of rules.
Amended?
The Flophouse drinking game, registered trademark.
Whoa, he copyrighted it?
Apparently. Drink whenever, 1,
This is how, like, Disney just recently stopped trying to copyright the phrase Dia de los Muertos because it was decided that that would seem evil if they tried to copyright the name of a holiday that people already celebrate.
Yeah. Drink whenever. Number 1, Stuart recommends Castle Freak, the Invisible Maniac, or Head of the Family.
Oh, have we done recommendations yet today?
2, Elliot recommends a movie that can only be obtained on nitrate film by breaking into the Warner Brothers film vault.
Come on, anyone can do it.
3, Dan recommends a movie to put you asleep on an airplane. 4,
He's right. You know, you got to give him
You
credit.
do it a lot.
for the Flophouse House Cat Howls. That's a full beer.
You got to shotgun it.
Yeah, it's rare.
5, Stuart is overtly modest in describing his penis size. Well, that never happens. I don't know
Never.
what that...
It's a monster.
6, Elliot's brother writes in to educate and delight with anecdotes and statistics from the wonderful world of sports.
Ugh.
7,
Oh, just thinking about it hurts so much.
any of the 3 octogenarians complain they couldn't hear what went on the movie they watched.
Okay, it's not our fault that movies are terribly mixed these days.
8,
So somehow the new generation of kids have super ears that can pick up the tiniest noises.
yeah. Number 8, BigSausagePizza.com is mentioned.
We haven't done that in a while until now.
Number 9, a guest host tries to steal Stuart's identity.
Okay.
10,
Wait, how many is that?
How many drinks?
how many rules? I mean, I
Wait.
just said 10.
How many minutes have we been doing this episode? Just joking. Keep going.
I don't know. 7.
Total waste of time.
I had a brain aneurysm. Like I watched.
That was the
Playing for Keeps.
That was the
again.
playing for keeps of this episode. Nothing happened, but time passed.
Number 10, a word is spoken that sounds like another word.
Oh, yep.
Number 11, there's confusion about whether what goes on is a bit. And lastly, for listeners with a death wish, number 12, Dan is interrupted.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't get through a full episode.
Nicolas Cage has been banned from appearing in this game for reasons pertaining to public health. Thank you for a great podcast. Sorry about Dan's knee. Now that's how you end a letter, guys. From Pete, last name
Faux
withheld.
sympathy.
Yeah.
My foe, sympathy. My
So-
greatest foe.
I think that's a good idea. If,
What,
and
a
if-
drinking game?
Yeah, if anyone does it, let me know how
Dan,
it
this
turns out
podcast
for
is
them.
pitched at the 10 to 13 market.
What?
This is a tween podcast.
that our key
That's why he sings
demographic?
those songs.
Our key demographic is tweens. They love my songs. They love our craze, the antics, and
That's
how
why
we're always
we-
talking about
Is
school.
that
That's
why
why
we're always
we were-
talking about the sweet life of Zach and Cody?
That's why we're wearing our hats backwards, right?
Why we're wearing our hats, our head hats backwards.
That's why there's so much Go-Gurt content in this.
We're always talking about chicken-shaped
Whoa,
dinosaur.
Wait, you can get dinosaur me?
Yeah,
How can you
chicken-shaped
get
dinosaur
dinosaur-
nuggets. Go-Gurt and dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets.
You have a line on fresh dinosaur meat that you haven't been telling me
It's
about?
not fresh.
I mean, it's freshly cloned.
Freshly clowned.
So, this is the last segment on the podcast, and that's where we recommend movies that we actually liked
We're
in
done.
contrast to direct like Playing for Keeps.
We're done wrecking movies. Now it's time to recommend.
Ugh, I hate you.
I'm getting so many good lines in tonight.
I'm going to recommend a low-budget picture called Iron Man 3 that I saw last night. Directed by Shanes Black, director of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He
writer
also
of Lethal Weapon.
wrote Lethal Weapon and The Last Boy Scout, which is one of my favoriteest movies of all time. It's
Weird.
Are they ever going to make that prequel, the second to last Boy Scout?
The penultimate Boy Scout.
So Iron Man 3.
And the sequel, it turns out we had another Boy Scout after all.
One of the things I like about Iron Man 3.
It's behind a box. Iron Man 3. You liked it.
Yeah, go on.
I didn't
Sorry.
like
Wait,
it.
what?
Yeah, I didn't like it very much, but you liked it.
Okay, well, what I liked about it is that large chunks of it reminded me of an 80s action movie.
This is what I
Big
didn't like
surprise.
about it.
Second off, it featured a lot of great character actors like William Sadler from the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and various Tales from the Crypt episodes, as well as Miguel Ferrer as, surprise, a bad guy.
I would have loved to have seen more Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah,
He's great.
no, I agree.
You guys
And,
are like, I'm sitting between you guys, and you guys are like the angel and devil on my shoulder because I'm literally seeing it tomorrow, and I don't know who to believe here.
And Guy Pearce is
But you
awesome.
Believe yourself.
yeah,
Give me more Guy Pearce, basically anytime.
yeah.
I wish they'd
All
given
my
Guy
movies-
Pearce more to do.
Morning,
Yeah,
noon, and
well,
night.
what they gave him, he was great.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay, so
So
Iron Man 3, go see it, America.
I would like to
Give it
recommend.
throw to
America
bone.
has already seen it.
I would like to recommend a movie called Wake in Fright, which is a Aussie horror film from 1971, which was
You mean an Aussie horror film, a movie starring Ozzie Nelson.
yeah. It was a largely forgotten movie. It came out to good reviews originally, but was not liked in its native Australia because it basically made the Australian outback look like a hellhole full of crazy people.
Whereas now, it's properly portrayed as a steakhouse full of bloomin' onions.
Yeah, but this movie had there was a. From what I understand, they found a copy of this film right before basically it was going to be burned, and it got re-released. I remember it being at like the IFC Center in town last year and reading a lot of reviews, and it's out of Blu-ray now.
They talk about it in Not Quite Hollywood.
Yeah,
the
movie about Ozploitation movies.
And I feel like that sparked interest in it quite a bit more too.
Yeah, and it is very like this is the way I feel about it. I see so many movies, and I've seen so many movies that. At this point, I've seen so many of the films that I'm personally going to love. Like, I've tracked them down. I've had, like, sort of a sense of, like, what's going to be good and what I'm going to enjoy, that it is a really big surprise when I really respond to something. There are a lot of movies that I see that I like, but not so many movies that I see that I love anymore. And I really enjoyed this movie. It was like sort of finding a lost masterpiece, and it had some of the same feeling of... like watching something like The Wicker Man, but I feel like even if you haven't
Nicolas
seen,
Cage?
if you haven't seen the original Wicker Man, if you haven't seen
with
The
Nicolas
Wicker
Cage.
Man, I feel like it's been so long since it came out that the basic idea of it has been spoiled for you. Whereas Wake in Fright, number one, there's no big twist to it, but number two, not much has been written about it, so you're not going to get spoiled in the same way. And it's just about a guy who is a school teacher who goes out. Who's on break, he's on vacation, he goes through the outback, he ends up losing all of his money in this tiny outback town, so he can't get to where he needs to go to. And it's a horror movie, but all of the horror in it is 100% psychological. And it's basically a descent into hell in the Australian outback, and I really enjoyed it. So that's my recommendation, Wake in Fright.
I'm going to recommend 2 films, I think, which I've been doing a lot lately because I like movies so much.
Wake in Fright and Iron Man 3.
One is a little movie called Iron Man 3, which I didn't like, but I'm recommending it
Because I hate everyone.
because I want you all to suffer. It's funny how I didn't like the things about it that you liked about it,
Yeah.
but I think I would have liked those things if it was not an Iron Man movie.
Okay.
It was almost like I was expecting one kind of movie and got another one, but I wasn't delighted by the surprise. I was just
It
kind
was
of
like the Dark Knight Rises element of it.
huh?
I don't know. I think a lot of people had a certain expectation going into it, just like with Dark Knight Rises, and they got something different than what
Okay.
they were
Yeah,
expecting.
yeah. I think that's possibly the case. Yeah. So my 2 movies are not those. I wanted to recommend first a movie called Gregory's Girl, which is a UK small film from the early 80s. It's a Forsyth movie.
Same guy did Local Hero,
Yeah,
right?
same guy did Local Hero, and it's very similar to Local Hero in the tone of it. And it's about basically like a bunch of kids at this Scottish high school. One of them is a soccer player. The main title character, Gregory, is a soccer player on the team. This is
Always playing for keeps.
He's always Well, the problem is he's not playing for keeps. He doesn't take it seriously enough, and he's kind of this goofy, awkward kid. He has a crush on a girl who starts playing on the soccer team, and he has some friends who are also kind of looking for girls, but not in the, like, American Pie, like, we got to get laid, we're virgins, but more in the way of, like, it felt more real to me about, like, young guys who are interested in girls, but they don't really know what to do with that interest or like how to talk to girls. And it did such a good job of portraying how at high school age girls feel older and more mature than guys, and the guys are just kind of like lost and treading water, trying to figure out how to keep up with the girls.
Don't know what to do.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of plot in the movie, but there's a lot of incident, and it's very funny and very charming, and like just a sweet movie. And like not a lot happens in it, but by the end of the movie, you feel that something has happened. Unlike Playing for Keeps, which is also a soccer movie where supposedly a lot happens, but nothing happens in it. So I really enjoyed Gregory's Girl. It's streaming on Netflix, but the version they have seems to have been a version that was released for American audiences where they redubbed a lot of the voices so that the Scottish accents were not quite as harsh.
Kind of like Mad Max?
Kind of, yeah, except it's very clear that they're all inside the same VO booth. So I want to try to find the original soundtrack version because the tinniness of the sound kind of bugged me. It was a really good movie. And the other movie I want to recommend is, because this is going to be old news by the time this podcast is released, but we're recording this about a day or two after the death of Ray Harryhausen, and I think I've mentioned on the podcast before personally what he meant to me growing up, what his work meant to me. And there are two kind of moments when my dad introduced me to movies that kind of set my life on a certain path. One of them is RoboCop, and the other is The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
When you became a robot cop.
When I became Robot Cop, and also when I went on a voyage to an island with a
Started
Cyclops
taking
on it.
Nuke.
I got really hopped up on Nuke, yeah, and started buying things for $1. But
They're just offering to buy things for $1. Not
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
ever purchasing them.
It's good to be king, right? Wait. No,
hold on, that's a
movie.
different. But he was very much a man who put a lot of himself into his work in a field that you don't often think that about, which is visual effects. And his work with character in his animated characters is so great. So I'd recommend, you know what? If you can find a Ray Harryhausen movie, watch it. But I especially recommend The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and 20 Million Miles to Earth. 20 Million Miles to Earth especially has some of, I think, his best character work. With the character of the Emir, a Venusian, I think, monster who starts out little and tiny and then eventually grows to be gigantic. And the way Ray Harryhausen treats the character at each stage of his size change is pretty phenomenal in how natural it feels. So I'd like to just recognize the memory of Ray Harryhausen and tell you to go watch one of those movies. They're delightful and magical.
Well, we really played for keeps tonight, guys.
We kept
You've
what we
been saving that
played
one
for.
up?
Yeah.
Since
Full circle.
what's weird is he's been saving that one for months now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to do it for the Smiley episode, actually. But
Well, guys, we really played for lulz this time.
Yeah, we just really did it for the funzos.
that's my lulz. Is what I would say.
That's my lulz.
What?
That's my boy.
Oh,
Wait.
right. We watched that movie.
What?
So,
Brats.
for the Flophouse,
Flophouse.
I've been,
Dan McCoy.
And
you've
I'm.
been,
Stuart Wellington.
and he's been
Elliot Kalin?
And we are.
the Flop
Floppity
House.
And
House.
he is.
Dan McCoy.
And you are.
Stuart Wellington?
And that is.
That's the computer.
And that is.
A couch.
And we are.
The Flophouse?
And we're sitting at.
A table.
Good night, everyone.
Good night?
Good night.
One thing I learned, do not email Dan on Saturdays and say, get that movie
Hey,
up.
that happened to me too. And Dan was like, I'm fucking busy.
I didn't happen to me.
I'm too busy. I gotta do this.
I'm going to Derby Day.
I've been so busy drinking and not watching a horse race.
A social plan I had had for a while. I
I'm sorry I couldn't be there, by the
did
way.
my best to get it up as quickly as I could, but I had a lot of things. I never promised
Hey,
anyone
Dan said
that it'd
that-
be up at a particular time.
Dan said all that in a different context. I did my best to get it up quickly, but there were other things. Get it? Talking about his wiener.